Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Katie. If you can't tell from the name of the channel, it's Katie Becomes an Author. And I'm making this channel because I want to become an author. That is my goal. And so I'm going to be using this channel to document my progress as I try to become an author. My long-term enormous, huge goal is to become a traditionally published author, and I will self-publish if that is not possible, if it seems to be that is not possible. So that is my goal, and so what I aim to do with this channel is to show daily progress towards this goal. So I'm going to try to upload 5 times a week is what I'm aiming for, but we'll see. I work in academics as a teacher, so right now we're off for the summer and it's only been a couple weeks, but already I am feeling a little bit bored, if you can believe that. So in addition to writing, in addition to just chilling out and playing games and stuff like that, I thought that I would start a YouTube channel as well. So let me first talk about who I am and my experience with writing so far, and just my progress as an author or would-be author. So I have already written a book, and it is in the process of me editing it and sending out to beta readers and things like that. It is a young adult fantasy book, and I love it. It took me ages to plan and come up with concepts and write and stuff like that. Total writing process for drafting and editing so far has been about a year and a half or so. And it is fantasy, young adult, and it is a total of about 100,000 words. Just under 100,000. I think it's 99,600 or so. And right now I am writing the sequel to that book. So, and I'm already at 17,000 words for that, and that's been going very, very swiftly compared to the first book. So, super pleased, and feel like I need to knock on wood for that, because I have the feeling that once I get to a little bit further into the book, some unfamiliar territory that I haven't planned so well, that progress will probably slow down. So, what I'm going to talk about today is I get a lot of inspiration from other authors and books that I read. You can see behind me, I like to read quite a lot, and not all of these books are mine, but many of them are mine. So, the book that I have been reading lately is by Sarah J. Maas. It's A Court of Wings and Ruin. And Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors, definitely in top 5. She's quite a popular young adult fantasy author, which is my genre and my audience. So, but I have been following her since before she was even published. She has this huge history as an author that you can read about, where she was posting on a website called Fiction Press. I don't think that Fiction Press still exists, or not necessarily the way, it's not in the same form that it used to be in. And this was way back when I was in middle school. And she was quite young as well. She's only a few years older than I am. And so I was a big fan of her on that website. And so I have followed her through the years. I was so excited when she actually became published. And I have read everything that she has done. I think the only thing that I don't have from her is some short stories that appeared at the back of some special editions of some of her books. And there's a coloring book that she put out, and I'm not big into adult coloring, so I passed that one up. But beyond that, I love her. I love her so much. She has a very compelling writing style. Her characters are very strong. I love their backstory. She's very able to weave surprises into her books, and yeah, I adore her, and I really like the way that she writes. It's very evocative. She's great at writing action scenes, and she's great at doing description too. So, what I'm going to talk about today is some very specific things that I noticed today when I was reading. And so just some details, and I'm going to try to model these in the next couple days, these sorts of things in my writing in the next couple days. So, what I was paying attention to today, as I read, was about physical description of characters that she was writing. So, first of all, I find that with my writing that I'm not very good at doing physical description. And first reason is that I don't have a good conception of what characters should look like, even main characters. So if I think about the main character in my first book, whose name is Tia, I have a really hard time even visualizing what she should look like. And I don't know why that is. I think that Tia is a fairly well-fleshed character, but when it comes to the actual physicality of characters, I oftentimes have a really hard time deciding what I want them to look like. It feels like sort of an arbitrary decision that I'm making. And so, I don't know. It's something that maybe I should look for pictures or something like that so that I can continually go back and look at what the character would look like. So here are some things that I noticed when I was reading, just descriptions that I really enjoyed that she made. So the first one, and I made some notes. The first one was on page 250. I'm right in the middle of this book. You can see. I'm right in the middle here. On page 250, she wrote, "Her eyes were the brown of a fawn's coat." And I really like that because just saying that a character has brown eyes a lot of times can be pretty boring and can sort of feel like the author is trying to just stuff in some description, I feel. But I really like using a metaphor or a simile to get it across. And second of all, when she says her eyes were the brown of a fawn's coat, this is talking about a character who is a little bit timid. There's a timid quality to this character, a softness to this character. And so I really like how she compared it to a fawn's coat, this young animal that is a prey animal, right? Not a predator. So sort of lending a softness to this character while also giving a physical description. So that's one thing that I noticed. Another one that I really enjoyed was on page 281. She is describing a character called Amryn, who is this very mysterious, fierce, powerful character. The other characters in the book don't know a lot about her. And she's very monstrous, and it scares them. This is on page 281, and then there's another one on page 282. So 281, Amryn's dark hair swayed as she assessed them. And that doesn't really tie into her character so much, but I just enjoy the way that talking about dark hair swaying. I think you could talk about a character's dark hair and just leave it at that, say she had dark hair. Probably you would fancy it up a little bit more. But having this physical action of the swaying of the hair happen as she assesses somebody as well, I like having those two actions together. So again, it doesn't feel like the author is forcing in description. And then on page 282, describing that same fierce, monstrous, mysterious character, Amryn's smoke-filled eyes flared. And so again, there's two things going on here. The first is that her eyes are flaring, and the second is that that the author, Sarah J. Maas, is describing her smoke-filled eyes. And it's just such a wonderful, evocative description, isn't it? So I really like that as well. So it's those sorts of physical descriptions that I want to aim this week to introduce a little bit more into my writing. So my goal is, I think I am going to find some pictures of approximately what I want my more main characters to look like, what I think that they should look like. I'll keep those maybe in a Pinterest board or saved in my, on my computer or something like that, so I can reference them. Maybe I can put them in Scrivener because I write in Scrivener. And then I'm going to try to work in some description, but not just say, oh, she had, limpid blue eyes and full lips and wonderfully, bouncy hair that, went in the breeze or something like that. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up on the spot. But instead of just launching into a physical description when you first meet a character, I want to try to weave it in as they go about just interacting with the world, with other people around them. And that way, I think it will be a little bit better integrated into the book. And it will also help the reader become more accustomed to think about these characters physically. Now, a key subject in one of my books, in my books, is dance, which is obviously a very physical thing. So I have a lot of descriptions of characters dancing and twirling around and various things. So that's very physical, and I think it would be nice to get in some descriptions of what they actually look like as they're doing these physical movements. So that is my goal. All right, so this was my first video. I think it went okay. We'll see. You have to start somewhere, right? So I will be back tomorrow, having read a little bit more of this wonderful book. And I will talk about what I've noticed and other things that I want to incorporate into my writing. Now, I do want to point out that I'm not doing this so that I can become exactly like one of my favorite authors. I do not want to be Sarah J. Maas. I want to be myself. I am just sort of trying to look at the way that other authors craft their words and incorporate those into my writing so that I can become a little bit better at that. So I will be back tomorrow and report back. Bye.